Is this thing on? Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is your boy Haba, Nick or Nahaba, and I'm bringing you a brand new video here today. I know it's been a long time. We're not going to talk about that, but we're just going to kind of hop straight into it, making like a Durk Lil Baby type beat. Been listening to a lot of the new Durk album, and yeah, so with all that said, we're just going to hop straight into it. So I got the Maverick piano pulled up here out of Contact. I'm not sure exactly how much this is. Yeah, this is the piano I'm gonna be using for today. Swapping it up a little bit. I typically use Keyscape, and who knows, maybe I'll jump into Keyscape later in this video. I have no idea. But I'm gonna set my BPM to 122, and I'm just gonna start cooking up. So I'm gonna start with these chords. I might add the middle note as well. But I'm liking this chord progression, so I'm just gonna roll with it and then try to come up with a top melody. So I'm gonna hit Control L here, and that's just gonna lengthen all my notes to touch each other. Yeah, I'm also gonna grab my lower notes here and highlight them all, and I'm doing this by holding Control and Shift while I click on what notes I want. And then if you just shift and drag, that'll duplicate those notes. And then I'm gonna hold Control and hit the down arrow, and that's gonna drop them an octave below. And then I'm gonna hold Alt and scroll, and that's gonna drop, as you see, my velocities are at the bottom. And I'm just gonna do that slightly. So now we have this. So that's sounding a little clunky to me, like too much in the mid section on the EQ, mid frequencies, that's how you talk. So with that said, I'm going to take my middle notes and throw them up an octave and see if I like that better. Yeah, so I like that a lot more. It kind of spreads out what frequencies we're using, and I think it makes the chords sound a lot more full. So now I'm gonna start trying to come up with a top melody up top, Yeah, yep, that's what I said. Yep. But before I do that, I'm gonna highlight all my chord notes except my bass notes at the bottom, and I'm gonna press Alt S, and this is just gonna strummize it a little bit. Give it a little more of a realistic feel. And if you're doing this and you don't have preserve end clicked, I recommend doing that. And what that does is just keeps the end of your notes the same as it was before, so you don't get bleeding over into the next ones. But with all that said, I'm gonna start on a top melody now. All right, so I've got my top melody here. I really like it. I don't know how much of it I'm gonna show you guys in the editing, but should have been a good amount. So I started just with this little part here. I can kind of highlight it so you guys can get a feel. So once I had that, I wasn't sure where I wanted to go with it because I really like the vibe of it, I suppose. So after that, I decided to throw in just repeat that F note and then throw a little flick in here from G to A. I highly recommend when you do flicks, you always do it to the note right above it in the scale. So like, you know, E to F or F to G or G to A, you know, you guys get it. It just sounds a lot better that way. And then how I did mine on this one is I'm set to half step and then I just made the note as small as I can go. But I did that, and then I added these two notes to kind of transition down into these ones, and that sounds like this. And I just thought those sounded really good together. I kind of experimented with different notes, and this is what I landed on. So after I had that, I added this part, and this was just kind of like, I don't know, once again. Just liked how it sounded. Filled space, you know, while this chord went on. Not to say you have to fill space all the time, because silence can build up tension and create its own sort of bounce. And then I added these notes up above, and as you can see at the bottom, I messed with the velocities, so they're not the focal point of this whole thing. They're not the main focus, but it's kind of like some nice ear candy to hear in the background. And then at the end here, it's just kind of like a lot of my notes along here are a little bit longer, so I decided to swap up the note size in the beginning here, make them a lot shorter than typically been throughout the rest of the melody, and that adds some nice variation into it, in my opinion. So now that I kind of explained what I did, I'm gonna play the whole thing from start to finish so you guys can hear it. I could definitely hear Durk doing something with this, like, on his more emotional stuff. As long as I do the drums right later on, he kind of gets emotional-ish melodies like this, really nice chord progressions. And then I don't know if simpler or more simple is the right set of words to describe the top melody, but something that conveys an emotion. And then he kind of has like harder drums on top of that. And it's a really nice combination. So now that I have this, I'm going to hit Control B, and that just duplicates it over, and then Control D to deselect it. And then I'm going to press Alt R, and that randomizes your velocities. And if you do this, I deselect the pattern because that'll make some crazy stuff. And I just do levels and then mess with this knob here. And you can mess with the pan too if you wanted. I don't typically do that with like pianos, but you could do that with like your hi-hats or something like that. Yeah, so now I'll just hit accept, and we'll hear what this sounds like with that. So I'm going to turn down the velocities of the main melody slightly. I think they're a little overbearing with the chords. I notice a lot with Durk songs that his chords kind of shine. He selects very cool chord progressions, and the producers on the track make really beautiful chord progressions. And then there's top melodies on there too, but I don't know, at least for me, I notice the chords a lot more. There's something about them, they just hit right for show. All right, so I made a slight change on the second half of the melody, and I'm gonna explain it. So I took all my top notes here, and I, like I showed you before, highlighted them, so I'll just show you over here. I highlighted them, and then I shift-click drag, and that duplicates them. And then what I did was I lowered the velocities. So it adds kind of like a delay effect, and I'm just gonna press Control X to delete those. But I did that here, and so that sounds like this. Not super noticeable, but I like it. And then at the end here, instead of just going up to the C note, I decided to go up and then come back down. And I think that wraps it up very nicely. So now that I have my piano melody and that's all done, I'm going to look for other aspects to add to the melody to give it more flair and make it more full. So I think for this, I'm going to mainly look through one-shot kits, and that's just because I think the piano melody does a lot of the work for me. I'm probably going to add a sub bass as well. I'm going to let the piano do the heavy lift. So I'm going to add this out of the Digital Instruments one-shot kit, volume 2, out of the TB Digital crate. It's just the keys shot. I'm gonna add this guitar shot too. I'm gonna add effects to these later. This is just to get a general idea. So I'm gonna add this mallet shot pad as well. And what I did to change this is I just came over to the envelope setting, just made it look like this. And so now that I got all this, I'm going to add effects to all this. and I'll show you what I do when I'm done. Over effects now. So for the piano, all I did was add some reverb. I turned down the decay a little bit, and I dropped the mix level to 14%. You guys can't see that. Dropped the mix level to 14% with this knob. And then I added a halftime, and I dropped the mix level in here to 20%. And then I added a Pro Q because some of the halftime lows were super muddy. So I just did a hard low cut at roughly, what is that? 75-ish. And then I added a crystallizer. Default settings, I just dropped the mix knob here as well to 21%. And then I added a melodies, and I kind of made my own preset for this earlier today. You can kind of see what I did if you have this. So that's the piano now. It sounds like this. So I really like how that sounds. So then I added the one-shot key shot. I'm gonna play all these with this. I did to this was I just did an EQ and then added some reverb and turned down the mix to 34%. So that one's nice and simple. I'm gonna turn down the volume on that. And then I added a guitar shot with just some reverb and some EQ as well. And that one's kind of harder to notice. It's there. I like it. Adds a nice texture. So then I did this one. And I really like the effects that are already on this one, so all I did was add an EQ. So then for the mallet shot pad, I added an EQ, pretty heavy EQ. And then Valhalla verb, and I reduced the mix to 45%. An RC20 for the vinyl sound. And then a filter freak with groove sweepy, but I turned down the mix level to only 48%. So this is everything all together. Alright, so now that we got the melody, I'm gonna start working on the drums. So I like to throw this onto this, then throw this into song mode, and then start adding drums. So I'm gonna be working out of my buddy Danny Rome's 4K drum kit. I like the boosted spins in here. Uses the spins a lot. And I'm gonna grab a clap as well. I'll go with the Luger clap for this one for now. Maybe I'll swap it up. Now I'm gonna work on an 808 pattern. And for this, what you wanna do is follow your root notes. This will make sure it's in key and it sounds good at all times. So I like that for a pattern. I'm just gonna duplicate it over. So before I get too crazy, I'm gonna add a sub bass, and this is mainly just gonna be for the intro. Durk uses sub basses on the intro of his songs a lot. And my go-to, as you guys have probably seen if you've ever watched my videos, is the Growler Moog bass. So I'm gonna grab this, and I'm just gonna move this up here and rename it to sub bass so I can stay a little bit organized. And then what I like to do is same thing as the 808, just grab all your root notes. And now that I have all these, I'm gonna place a note here so I can press Control L, and it's gonna extend them all out. And then I'm just gonna move it up an octave. So now that I got that, I'm gonna go back to my 808. I'm gonna grab a hi-hat. I'll grab the usual one, turn the up knob up a little bit, or the out knob. And now I'm gonna mess around with my hi-hats. So I like this for a hi-hat pattern. I'm gonna grab an open hat. Then I'm gonna grab a snare. So I like that for a pattern. So now that I got all this, I'm just gonna mix out my drums. so now that I got it all mixed out how I want it, I'm gonna throw my master on it, and that's just Fruity Parametric EQ1 and a Fruity Soft Clipper default settings. So now that I have this, I'm just gonna lay out the beat and then I'll get out of here. All right, so I got the beat all laid out here, so I'm going to explain it and then I'm gonna let it roll as I get out of here. So in the beginning, just the piano, that first one shot with the keys and the sub bass, then my tag comes in, then all the drums come in and I get rid of the sub bass. Also, all the melodic elements come in for the whole 16 of the hook. And then for the verse, I did, if you come up here and you go make unique on that pattern, you can change this to whatever you want without affecting your original pattern. So I did that for the opening of the verse, and it's just the chords. I got rid of the guitar shot and the key shot in the beginning, and I left the mallet pad thing and the ethnic shot. And then I got rid of the hi-hats in the beginning here and the snare. And then on the second half, I got rid of the open hat. And I brought back in the original piano melody with the guitar shot. And then it goes into our bridge. I'm just gonna add a little cut right there. And I leave the hi-hats, the clap in, and I bring back the sub bass. And then I bring back that original key one shot. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I'm gonna let the beat roll as I do the outro here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment down below, let me know what you want to see from me in the future. I'm glad to be back. Hopefully I can keep it rolling and we can get back to 400 subs. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Peace.